Good evening, Mr. Bard Lombard. It's nice to see your reply, and I hope that you're doing well. I'm sorry, recording videos is easier for me, especially that I got an injury playing basketball, fracturing a finger, and well, I always prefer the personal face-to-face approach rather than the typing. Actually, remote communication will most probably lead to a lot of assumptions. And sometimes when I write something back, some people write back, "Why are you angry?" How could they assume that I'm angry? Although I'm not writing in large font or I'm not leaving my caps lock on. Anyway, to cut the long story short, I guess you're from South Africa and now it's late. Maybe you will not see the video immediately, you will see it later on. I'm actually in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where I work as a school principal and basketball coach. Well, okay, so what I meant what I referred to as fallacious was the false claims that Islam is a religion of violence and terrorism. And I made it clear through by quoting two verses from the Quran, from Surah number 2, verse number 190, and from Surah number 60, verse number 8, and number 9 afterwards, which makes it clearer that Islam strictly prohibits harming and attacking and doing any kind of harm to civilians of any faith, even monks, priests, hermits, rabbis who are not fighting in the ranks of enemy combatants. They are not to be harmed, they are to be protected. And this has been the pattern. And I also mentioned some of the sources, and there are so many other sources of historians, non-Muslim historians who confirm this as a fact. Now, the hadiths that you are referring to, please mention them, write them down, write their sources so we can discuss. I can guarantee you one thing, and I think that, and maybe you have the right to, by reading the hadith outside their general context and outside the comprehensive understanding of Islam, will lead to false conclusions. At a certain period of time, I was not a practicing Muslim. I was in a secular environment. I studied for 15 years in a Catholic school, and then I moved to a public high school. I didn't receive Islamic education. I used to celebrate Christmas and I used to celebrate Easter and other Christian occasions. And my parents were not that religious. I had to go through readings and studies by myself at a certain period of time to discover Islam. And this took years until later on I made a decision and I became a practicing Muslim and I kept studying the Islamic tradition. So the general context of verses and hadiths that are related to fighting are all related to Surah number 2, verse number 190, which says, "Fight in the way of Allah, وَقَاتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, those who fight you. الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ وَلَا تَعْتَدُوا, do not transgress. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُعْتَدِينَ, Allah surely loves not transgressors." So it makes it clear, fighting is exclusively allowed and only allowed against enemy combatants in the battlefield. So what do you expect us Muslims to do with the enemy combatants in the battlefield? To give them a big hug? To kiss them? This is natural in any law, in any secular or even religious law. You have the right to fight against enemy combatants. Even there's the further teachings which say that if the enemy combatants ask for peace, then accept this request of peace. وَإِن جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. It's a verse in the Quran. If they ask for peace, then make it peaceful and keep your reliance on Allah. So, yes, at the beginning, the Islamic approach towards, as you say, non-Muslims We invite them to Islam. They can live with us as a community. When the Prophet, peace be upon him, arrived to Al-Madinah, he made a constitution in which he gave rights even to non-Muslims who are living in the Medina al-Munawwara along with Muslims. And what you mentioned here as al-jizya, actually, you should know something, that Muslims pay zakah. They pay this charity, which is mandatory, and it is given to the poor, to the destitute, to those who deserve it, to keep a balance in the community, but this is mandatory on Muslims. Non-Muslims don't pay zakat. Non-Muslims pay jizya. Jizya is paid by males, non-Muslim males only, who are capable of fighting. So if they are kids, women, old men, priests or monks, those who are, let's say, handicapped, those who are extremely poor, they are not entitled to pay the jizya. On the contrary, they can earn money from Bayt Mal al-Muslimin, from the Muslim treasury. The Muslim treasury will spend on them. And this is also mentioned in the Islamic history. If you want, you can check the History of Civilization by William Durant, Will Durant, the American historian. He mentioned that the amount of money, which is the jizya, was insignificant. It was worth about a couple of $100s per year, and it varies based on the economical capabilities of the men who are entitled to pay the jizya. All right, yes, your second comment. Yes, there are Muslims who are doing hateful things, but does Islam endorse their doings? No. You're against them, I'm against them too. You are against terrorism, I'm against terrorism too. And this is a fact. Islam is against terrorism, and I mentioned this and I'm mentioning it again. Muslims are not hateful towards infidels, but we have to make a stand against those who are fighting against us. If they want peace, we will accept peace, as God has taught us in the Quran. Well, actually, last but not least, you said I have some very thorny questions for you. Go ahead and ask them, and I'll try my best to answer them. Mostly, I'm available at night after I finish my work. I work actually for about 12 hours a day, principal in the day, and coaching basketball teams, the school basketball teams in the afternoon. I come back at night, and I will check your questions, and I will reply to them without any problem, without any hesitation. Be my guest and be my friend. I don't hate you. My main intention here is to make Islam clearer to you. And in a nutshell, just to make things clear again, we face a big problem when we take the verses or hadith or any Islamic text outside its context, and when we lack in the comprehensive understanding of Islam. When we say, for example, fight the infidels, or kill the infidels wherever you may find them. Oh, Muslims are supposed to kill the infidels wherever they may find them. So I find an infidel kid or woman or an elderly man or whatever in the market and on the street, I go and kill them. This is a disaster here. If you read the context of the verse, you will see that it's in the battlefield, the enemy combatants in the battlefield, as in the general rule by the Quran, chapter number 2, verse number 190. And I hope this made things clear to you, Mr. Bard, my friend again. And I hope I can hear from you soon. Take care of yourself and see you later. Take care.